time once again to go racing.
The pressure is really on now.
And in position.
Pedal to the metal, go, go!
Alright, hello and welcome everybody to PSGL PC F4, the first broadcast of this season, season 29 for the F4 tier here in PSGL. This is round 5, the Italian Grand Prix at the Autodromo Nazionale di Monza. My name is Aladar and I will be your commentator, piloting you through today's action. I'll be the solo commentator in the box, and I'm also streaming for the first time in quite a long time, so bear with me if there are any issues, and please do let me know in the YouTube chat if you need any changes made to the likes of sound levels and that sort of thing. So right now on circuit, fair few drivers already out there, many of them out there on the medium tyres at this stage. For those of you that aren't familiar with F4, bit of a moment there for Fast, trying to get a hold of that Alfa Romeo there. As Guiza also setting the fastest lap right now, a 1:20.004. First lap time on the board for Guiza, the Brazilian in the Haas, and we'll see whether anyone is going to be able to go faster than that. Indeed, Higgsy goes and raises that bar significantly up to a 1:19.542 for Mercedes. As I was saying just a moment ago, anyone who's unfamiliar with the PC F4 tier, Top Jack is currently top of the standings at the moment. There you see him currently sitting in 9th on the timing tower, driving for Alpine today. He's actually a reserve driver, but he's raced in 3 of the 4 races so far this season, and his worst finish is a 2nd place finish back in the last race at Zandvoort. The races before that at Spa and Paul Ricard, he won both of them. So he is definitely going to be one of the drivers to watch here. Top Jack, absolutely watch out for him. Bogan, currently sitting 2nd in the standings, is not here today, so he will not be able to try and close down on Top Jack. Kevin then is the driver who is 3rd in the standings, and you can see him currently sitting there in 5th for the Alpha Tauri team. So right now, a few drivers getting out there, starting to get those lap times going. As I'm going to quickly get all the telemetry sorted out here. There we go. Sorry, forgive me for that. So, we have Spiz currently leading the way. One of the 3 drivers thus far to set a lap on a soft set of tyres. So, that's going to be interesting to see how many drivers are going to actually commit to going for those medium tyres all the way through, and how many are going to be just opting for the softs later on. Might be just a sighter lap for some of these drivers. We are early on here in the qualifying session, of course, so plenty more time to go for these drivers. As Igor Araujo there moves up into 2nd position, and that is the Aston Martin driver there, finding his way up into 2nd, Brazilian. And I believe this is his first race of the season here in PSGL F4, in the PC side of things, of course. And that's a good way to stake your claim on the division by going 2nd with your very first qualifying lap. Of course, several drivers still yet to qualify. Edouard's GG actually retired from the session very early on. Not sure if that was intentional or whether there was some kind of mistake, some kind of crash. Not entirely sure on that one for the time being, but either way, Edouards will not be participating any further in this qualifying session, and thus will be starting no higher than 15th on the grid. A bit of a disastrous start for the McLaren driver and the McLaren team as well, currently sitting at 10th in the overall standings. Very much a team that need a little bit of help as far as things are going at the moment. Let's see then, Bryn Evans, he is on a flying lap, or was on a flying lap until he invalidated this one. So he's going to be heading back into the pit lane, I would imagine, to get rid of his soft tyres. Let's see what Narkovic now is doing. The Polish driver just starting the flying lap here. So we'll see. We'll jump on board then with the Aston Martin as we head around or down towards Della Roja, I should say, on the run round through Curva Grande. Down into the braking zone of Della Roja we now go. Skipping over both curbs nicely. Well judged by the pole. Into Lesmo 1. A little bit tentative perhaps through there. Touch of understeer mid-corner. Lesmo 2. Using all the curbing very nicely. This Aston Martin looks absolutely on rails for Narkovic right now. So definitely suiting the Polish driver as things are currently standing. Let's see now into Ascari. Turning it in, flicking it in again. It all looks very, very comfortable. Very easy from on board with Narkovic's Aston Martin. No slipstream to be had there from the Mercedes. That gets nice and out of the way. That was Higgsy on the right-hand side. Narkovic, that looked a little bit tentative then. Just braking perhaps a little bit too early, a little bit too much into Parabolica. Staying to the right-hand side to come across the line and move into second position. Displacing his teammate Igor Araujo by moving up into P2 there. Still not quite able to match the lap time of Spiz, the Belgian-Italian driver. Currently sitting in first position. What is a sort of home race for him. In his team's home race as well, of course, driving for Ferrari here today. So, let's take a look then at Gelbevand as the Red Bull driver. Whoa, skips across the first chicane there. And actually, we got a bit of an audio glitch going on with Gelbevand, so never mind. Let's take a look at Fass then instead. In not a Haas, but an Alfa Romeo as we get to the braking zone of Della Roja once again. A bit deep into Della Roja, a bit deep in the first part. That forced him to clunk over the curbing in the second part. No invalidation picked up for Fass, so that is at least something, as all the drivers are now out there on soft tyres. So all of them abandoning the mediums for this second run here in qualifying. And Fass, we'll get towards the end of Sector 2 in a moment, and we'll see just where Fass is relative to their previous best time. A couple of tenths improvement for Fass right now, but they'll be hoping for a little bit more than that. Currently sitting only in 7th position. That's Codoningolo that's just gone up there into 4th, and Guiza up into 3rd now as well for Haas. Good lap time from him. Higgsy moves into 4th then for Mercedes, but Fass calming around this final corner. What is it going to be for the Aston Martin driver? As we now cross the line, and it's only a slight improvement. I say a slight improvement. It was 4 tenths. But that was only 1 position worth of improvement for Fass, and that is going to be disappointing then. So hopefully Fass will be able to find some more in the remainder of this qualifying. Now let's take a look here at Kevin. Currently sitting 3rd in the overall standings with AlphaTauri, but in this qualifying session so far, down in 12th. That lap time was set on a medium set of tyres, so potentially a lot of improvement to be found here with this set of softs for Kevin. I'm seeing some support for Kevin in the chat as well. Let us know in chat who you guys are supporting, who you reckon is going to be able to take pole position and the race win here today, as well as Kevin rounds the final corner, comes up to cross the line, and up into 5th we go. That's a bit more like it then from our 3rd place man in the driver's standings, Top Jack, our current championship leader, with the invalidation. That's going to put him under a little bit of pressure as the session draws on. Now JXN starting what will be his first proper flying lap. I believe he went out for one earlier but invalidated, so he's yet to register a lap time on the board for Williams. The German driver exiting Sector 1 as he heads now through Curva Grande, coming up to the end of Sector 1. Going to register a 25.966 through the first sector. Looked okay through the first part of Della Roja, maybe just taking a little bit too much minimum speed through the second part. That will have hurt the exit just a little bit. A couple of oversteer moments as well through Lesmo 1, not making the apex of Lesmo 2 either, but it's not a disaster for the Williams driver. Could well still be a decent lap time. Coming towards the end of Sector 2 now. What's the split going to be? It's a 52.4. And we'll see how that stacks up once JXN gets towards the very end of this lap. All neat and tidy through Ascari. No hint of an invalidation through there. Now you just pin the throttle and wait for Parabolica to come. Not such a tricky corner now as it once was in these modern day F1 cars, but JXN struggles a little bit getting too deep into the corner. Very much a V-shaped line taken through there. Taking the run towards the line, and it's a 1:18.844 for the German, and that moves him up ahead of his compatriot Gelbevand into P9. Cordonignolo, meanwhile, he's been able to go up to the very top. Spiz not currently out there on a flying lap. Narkovic, he's going out there on another flying lap for Aston Martin. So let's see what he's going to be able to do as he rides the curbing through the first corner, as you are supposed to do. Curva Grande will come next for the Aston Martin. At the moment, that pole time is looking beatable, a 1:18.5, and you can see how little is splitting the field right now. Less than half a second down to BYTR in 12th, and now Dazed Rhombus goes to the top. The British driver in the Haas with a 1:18.472 on his second lap on that set of tyres as well, finding more pace second time around. And the bar is lowering, ever lowering for these drivers. Narkovic going to get a nice little slipstream there for Higgsy. I don't think Higgsy was particularly trying to give that to the Polish driver, but Narkovic will absolutely take that as he heads through Ascari. No problems there. Now again, just waiting for the Parabolica and then the start-finish line after that. Chucks the car in there. All looked okay to me. Maybe, again, a little bit too deep into the corner, perhaps. But now, hugging the right-hand side to cross the line and go fastest with a 1:18.463 from Narkovic. Great lap time from him. Now, where's Gelbevand? He's coming into the final corner. Round Parabolica we go. He's not invalidated, so this will be a legitimate lap time. Currently sitting on a 1:18.8. Now, with a 1:18.6, moves him up into P5 as well. Not quite troubling the very top-end drivers, but still a very respectable lap time. Higgsy now on the run into Sector 2. He was slightly down on his best first sector time, but only slightly. Plenty more time to be found around the rest of the circuit. Lesmo 1, all look good there. Lesmo 2 coming up next. Aiming for that apex and gets it spot on, riding both curbs perfectly in that black Mercedes. Down the dip and back up we go under the bridge. The run to Ascari, braking hard and now finding more time in the second sector. Higgsy is currently on track to at least challenge Cordoningolo over that third place spot. 4 minutes remaining in qualifying and things really are starting to heat up right now. Higgsy coming in towards the final corner. Guiza is just behind him on the road as well. Both of them going to be trying to reclaim spots at the very front of the grid. As Higgsy about to cross the line, what's it going to be? It's a 1:18.4 as well, not enough to displace Dazed Rhombus. Guiza went back into the pit lane after an invalidation. So not what Guiza would have wanted. Fast crosses the line, finds improvement, but not enough. Staying there in P11. Currently going to be the fastest of the drivers with free tyre choice, so it might not be such a bad spot to be in. Let's take a look now at Cordoningolo. Found a lot of time in the first sector, already a quarter of a second in the first sector alone. If Cordoningolo can just make that stick throughout the rest of the lap, this should be the provisional pole time. The Spaniard heads round Lesmo 2 in the McLaren. This will be big for the McLaren team if Cordoningolo can get a big result here. As I mentioned earlier, sitting 10th in the constructors' standings. Cordoningolo himself is the only driver to have scored points for McLaren so far this season. He's currently sitting in 9th position in the standings with 11 points to his name. Let's see how the rest of this lap is shaped out then as he heads around that final corner. Bit of a four-wheel drift on entry. That will have lost him just a touch of time. He's going to keep going though. Foot to the floor, crosses the line to go fastest, a 1:18.299. He throws down a new gauntlet for the other drivers to try and match. Let's see, is Igor Araujo out there? He is, but he has already invalidated his attempt. So Higgsy might be going for another lap. No, he's just going to be heading back into the pit lane. So it looks like we've got a few drivers who are just getting on their outlaps right now. Let's take a look then on board with Top Jack. Championship leader and got to be one of the favourites for this race, but he is currently struggling here in qualifying. That 1:19.8 you see there, that was on medium tyres at the very beginning of the session. Since then, Top Jack has not been able to register a lap time. So this is a big opportunity. Pressure is very much on for Top Jack. Danny Coe has arrived in the session as well for Mercedes. He's out there on circuit right now. Top Jack heading down towards turn 1. First challenge. First of about 9 challenges over the course of this lap. That looked a little bit tentative, if anything, there from Top Jack. Lots of time in the very low revs there. through turns 1 and 2, but the line looked pretty good. We'll see then through Sector 1 at the end. It's going to be a 25.8, finding a lot of time on that previous best, of course, but I don't think that was an electric first sector time. Struggling a little bit through Della Roggia, really using all the road through there. Cordoningolo, he's back in the pit lane. He's done, so he's laid down his marker, and that is an invalidation for Top Jack. Really under pressure right now. Let's see then what Danico is doing. In the Mercedes, he's just a late arrival to this session. He will cross the line now. And in fact, he's just ending his outlap. So I believe starting his flying lap right now. So let's take a look elsewhere. Dazed Rhombus. He's going to be out there on a flying lap. He's improved through the first sector. Not by a whole lot, but he doesn't need a whole lot to at least get ahead of Narkovic, who's currently there in second. A lot more time being found through the middle sector as well for Dazed Rhombus. This could well put Dazed Rhombus back up to the very top of the order. This driver currently 11th in the overall drivers' standings. So this would be a big turn up for Dazed Rhombus if he can make it stick through this final corner. And it, again, didn't seem quite perfect through Parabolica. Let's see, as Igor Araujo just went into second there. And Dazed Rhombus moves him off by 1,000th of a second. Good stuff there for Dazed Rhombus. Who's going to come through next? I believe Bryn Evans. He has just come across the line into 6th. Let's take a look at Spiz. See what the Ferrari driver is doing at their team's home Grand Prix. Not improving through the first couple of sectors. Both JXN and Bryn Evans have reached the checkered flag. They will be taking no further part in qualifying. 5th and 7th, the best they can be hoping for. Same for Fast there in 12th. Make that 13th as Danico, with only one lap to do it with, manages a good one. A 1:18.4 puts him up into 5th. Now Spiz coming round. Has the final sector been good enough? It's good enough for improvement as Spiz moves into P6. Few more drivers coming round in the background now. Gelbevand, he's heading into the pit lane. Kevin, he's coming around the final corner now as well. He's also going to be heading into the pit lane. Let's see then, Top Jack, he's managed to keep it clean this time around. No invalidation for the championship leader, and he might be on shot for a pole, and he takes it away. At the death, Top Jack comes up trumps. A 1:18.230 then for the British driver in the Alpine. And with that, I believe that might be all we have here in qualifying. Igor Araujo, he is not pushing anymore, but Dazed Rhombus, out of nowhere, I thought he was done, but he went for a second lap on the soft tyres, and Dazed Rhombus moves himself to the top of the order instead of Top Jack. So it's going to be Dazed Rhombus here on pole in Italy with Top Jack alongside. Cordoningolo looked like he had pole all sewn up, with only a couple of drivers left to complete their laps, but both of those two drivers managed to improve on his time. Good action then here in qualifying. Dazed Rhombus taking that pole position away. It's a good qualifying as well as apologies for this. I'll get that sorted out in just a moment here. There we go, all good. So, Dazed Rhombus there on pole position. Good qualifying for Aston Martin. 4th and 5th for them. Igor Araujo in his first race of the season, looking solid with a potential 4th place, or with a confirmed, I should say, 4th place start on the grid. And we'll see the timings in just a moment here to see just how close all of these drivers were when it really came down to it. Hopefully, at least, we'll be seeing those the order in just a moment here. The timings should come through in just a moment here. It looks like we're just going to be getting straight into the race session instead. But I believe it was a pretty close finishing order there in qualifying. Not bad at all from many of these drivers. Most of them managed a lap time in the 1:18s. I think there were only a couple of 1:19s at the end of the session. And of course, Edouard's not managing to register a lap time after that early retirement from qualifying. So here we are then, into the race session itself. Looks like a clear and dry day. No trouble in terms of weather for these drivers. And everyone is just getting their setups confirmed and their strategies confirmed as well before they get out there on their formation lap, where we'll be able to see outside of the top 10 which drivers are opting for mediums, which are going to opt for hards, and whether some will feel like starting on the softs instead. There you can see the Haas on the front row of the grid in that pole position slot with Top Jack's Alpine alongside. So let's see then what tyres everyone has opted for. And unsurprisingly, it's medium tyres for every single driver outside of the top 10. 16 drivers in the field here today, and 6 of them will be starting the race on the yellow-walled medium tyres. Gelbevand, Guiza, Kevin, Fass, BYTR and Edouards are the drivers who will be on that harder medium compound. It's going to be interesting to watch the likes of Kevin in particular. Kevin, third place in the championship, as I mentioned, managed a podium last time out in the Netherlands, but to qualify down in 13th in a field of 16 when one of those drivers didn't even participate in qualifying. It's not a great look then for the AlphaTauri driver. Hopefully he'll be able to improve as the day goes on and maybe the race will come to him. Fast there outside the top 10. BYTR, Guiza, Gelbevand. We'll see. Some of those names I am quite familiar with. Guiza is starting in 12th, and that is exactly where Guiza is in the actual driver's standings, as luck would have it. As now, we'll jump on board with the Haas as we go around on this formation lap. The drivers just getting their tyres already in perfect condition for the race itself. As he revving out that third gear right now, getting as much heat into those tyres as possible before they get ready to line up on the grid. Yeah, I will take control in just a moment here. As now the AI are taking control, everyone getting lined up on the grid. And should be all good for us to get set and ready for the start. There you can see the predicted pit stop strategy according to the game. Soft to hards on around lap 9 to 21. We'll see whether any drivers are going to be going in that direction or not. And now let's see. With the lights ready to come on, all drivers lined up on the grid. Edouards lining up in P16. Dazed Rhombus topping the order at the very front of the grid. Top Jack alongside. 5 lights are now on in Monza. And we are underway here in PCF4, and it looks like a good start for Dazed Rhombus already. Cordoningolo has a rocket start off the line. He's already challenging Top Jack and might even challenge for the lead into turn 1. Top Jack keeps the nose up the inside there of the Haas, and that might have compromised the Alpine driver just a little bit. But they're going to play nice through the first few corners, all staying as they were. It's Rhombus from Top Jack, from Cordoningolo. Narkovic and Igor Araujo, the 2 Aston Martin drivers, have swapped positions. But other than that, it's all remained pretty much as it was inside the top 7. Higgsy also making up a place over JXN at the very start. There you see the drivers going through in the background as Dazed Rhombus will lead Top Jack around on this first lap of the race. We'll see there. A little bit of a moment there for Dazed Rhombus. Higgsy's in trouble. Higgsy is in trouble. Let's see what happened there. I think he was just off through Lesmo 2. There you can see it. Completely off through Lesmo to Higgsy after a promising qualifying, falling right down to the back of the order on lap 1. And just looking at some other drivers who have made good starts, Edouards has made a good start. Bryn Evans, he's having a go with JXM right now, and he might have a go at Spiz as well. Spiz going to have to go defensive, and look at that late braking from Bryn Evans around the outside. There's yellows in Sector 3, I believe. That's just for Higgsy back there. As Spiz and JXN, they're now battling as well. And actually, Spiz, heading into the pit lane, must have picked up a little bit of damage. Same for Igor Araujo, who is now falling down the order. In fact, no, he's not falling down the order. He is still continuing out there. That is just a timing tower glitch. But back out at the front, it is as we were. Dazed Rhombus from Top Jack, from Cordoningolo. Then we have Narkovic in 4th. And unless I'm very much mistaken, we should see the second Aston Martin right there as well of Igor Araujo. There you go, as they head through De La Roja. The two casualties on the opening lap were Spiz and Higgsy. As now, look at this at the front, sorry. These guys going hammer and tongs, and oh, that's Days Rhombus off. And I think he took Kudoningolo with him. They're both off. Kudoningolo's out of the race, and Days Rhombus is fully in the wall. He's going to struggle to get that going again, and we have a virtual safety car here. On the second lap of the race here in Monza, the two challengers for the race lead come together, and our pole sitter is down into 14th. Chaotic stuff, but I tell you what, that's going to suit Top Jack no problem. Our championship leader sees the Red Sea parting as his two primary contenders collide through Lesmo 2. And Lesmo 2 has been the spot of some significant action so far in this race. That's where we saw the issue for Higgsy on lap 1. Now we see Kudoningolo and Dazed Rhombus coming a cropper in that particular corner as well. Virtual safety car is remaining out there for the time being, and now it gets disabled, and DRS is now enabled, and actually you can see great restart here for Narkovic, who's already going to be right on the rear end of Top Jack. Look, you can see him dumping the battery charge right now. He wants to put the race leader under some significant pressure. Top Jack has enough about him to defend into that corner. But that was a bit of a nervy restart there for our race leader, and the Aston Martins in second and third right now. They'll be very, very happy with the way this race is going. Days Rhombus in the pit lane, of course, after losing the front wing in that incident. In the background there, you can see Danico and Bryn Evans going side by side as they head towards Ascari. Let's see then, Bryn Evans trying to take the outside line, can't quite manage it. Nice defense there from Danico, but Bryn isn't done yet, as now he's going to take what will eventually become the outside line as they just out-drag each other here down the straight. Bryn alongside the Mercedes of Danny. And Danny has the inside, he can defend here into Parabolica. It's very close, Bryn almost runs off track entirely. And he will have to jot in behind Danico for the time being, but this battle is not over yet. You can see right on the rear wing then of the Mercedes and heading down towards the first corner. It's going to be the outside line again for Bryn Evans, but this time can break late enough into the first couple of corners. And that will be Bryn Evans making the move. So we have Alpine from Aston Martin, from Alpine, as those teams are very happy with the way this race is currently going. Danny down then into 5th position, and he's now got JXN for company as well in that Williams. Most of the drivers still within that DRS train of one another. Edouards, who's had a great start in this race. That is a commentator curse and a half. I was just saying, hey, it had a great start in this race, and he loses the car then on the exit of De La Roja, and he'll be getting going again. But that is a bit of a disaster for him after such a promising start to this race. Let's take a look back up towards the front with Narkovic. He's here with Igor Araujo and Top Jack out at the very front of the order. Bryn Evans joining these, and then there's a little bit of a gap down to Danny in 5th. As they head around Parabolica now. Let's take a look and see what it's like on board. Narkovic actually lost a lot of time there in Parabolica, and this might give the opportunity to his teammate Igor Araujo. Igor's not going to dump his battery, not going to try and take the opportunity, and now Narkovic might be able to get something done in the braking zone. You can see how much closing speed he had there on our race leader, JXN, into the pit lane. That's early for him. I think that's just a tactical decision, though. Meanwhile, Gelbevand and Fass, they're going side by side. Gelbevand had to go around the outside there, but the switchback from Fass in the braking zone. That's beautiful driving from the Aston Martin. It's not over yet. Oh, I should say the Alfa Romeo, sorry. It's not over yet, though, because Gelbevand will be able to have another go back at the Alfa Romeo. He doesn't manage to do so, though. So, Fass moving up that position into P6 at this stage of the race. Now let's take a look and see what tyres everyone is currently on at this stage. There we go, managed to get that sorted out eventually. As I say, don't stream very often, so apologies for any issues here. Fast still leading Gelbevand around there in 7th. Big gap forming between themselves and Kevin up ahead fellow KTF driver of Fasses. Kevin is actually putting some pressure on towards Guiza for that 5th position. And you can see the fact that so many of the front runners have fallen by the wayside right now. There's only 4 guys out there at the front on the soft tires. Everyone on the mediums can be really happy with the way this race is going. Guiza, Kevin, Fast, Gelbervan, BYTR, they're all having clean runs of it right now. And here comes Kevin with a move on Guiza. And I tell you what, that's an easy move. Any day of the week, Kevin will take that up ahead of Guiza. Meanwhile, further behind, Gelbervan and Fast, they've switched positions again. Gelbervan moving back up into 7th place. You can see these two drivers, they're using a bit more of their battery charge as a result of all this battling. Let's see what the situation is like for the front few drivers. Yeah, you can see Narkovic currently sitting here with 92% battery charge. Smart stuff here from the Polish driver in the Aston Martin, knowing that you could try and overtake right now, but it's likely that Top Jack would just be able to get him back in the next couple of laps. This is smart driving, heads up stuff from the Aston Martin. We'll see whether he's going to go for a move this time around. There is your front pack, our leading 4 drivers. Top Jack, Narkovic, Igor Araujo, and Danico. As we get towards the end of lap 6, about to start lap 7 of the Italian Grand Prix. And you can see Narkovic struggling again through Parabolica. Just doesn't seem to have the ability to take Parabolica quite so well as some of the other drivers. Danico, he's into the pit lane. So he's going to be the next one to go on to a fresh set of tyres. Is it going to be hards? Is it going to be mediums? JXN pitted for mediums just a lap ago. Danico's going to go for hard. So he reckons he needs those white-walled hard tyres to get to the end of the race from here. Guiza's having a trouble. Let's see what's happening with Guiza here. Looks like he's recovered whatever the issue was, but he's lost a fair few positions. Not a huge amount of time lost for Guiza. So whatever the mistake was, it was quite costly in terms of positions, but it wasn't the biggest mistake in the world. As Danico, he's going to be exiting the pit lane back out there in 10th with a whole lot of clean air to his name, not having to worry about the undercut here from JXN. And no traffic immediately ahead of him means he can try and work his magic to make some positions up with the likes of Top Jack, Narkovic, and Igor Araujo, of course. It's Bryn Evans, currently down here in 9th after the mistake earlier on. And he is on 6-lap-old soft tyres. He's going to struggle for this in this race here. It's not going to get much better for him from here. The strategy he's on, not ideal at this point. Let's take another look then with our race leaders on board with Narkovic. You can see there the rear wing of the Alpine, that's Top Jack. DRS is open, no battery charge being used, but Narkovic might be able to go for the move anyway. Backs out of it at the last minute, but definitely showing himself in the mirrors here with Top Jack, letting him know that he's not going to hold on to first position that easily. Still really, really close up behind the Alpine for the time being. Edwards and Higgsy making positions change, down in 13th and 14th outside of the points. But both of these guys are on recovery drives right now, and Edwards actually sets the fastest lap of the race just as we're on board with him. Guiza in more trouble here. Let's see, no, he's just battling here with Bryn Evans through Lesmo 2. They go side by side. We've seen a lot of drivers having issues through there this race already, but these two will not join those ranks. Lovely clean driving from the pair of them. Bryn going to be sending it back up the inside here of Ascari. Let's see, will Guiza brake late enough? No. So Bryn makes that move up into P8, and he can look to try and chase down the other medium tyre runners ahead. He needs to do that on his softs right now, while they still have any life in them whatsoever. Top Jack leads the way as we enter lap 9 of this race. As ever, Narkovic is close and thinks about making the move, but doesn't quite go for it. Igor Araujo, he's still clinging on to these guys as well, but you feel he doesn't quite have the pace of his teammate up ahead. He is saving a lot of battery power though, and that could be big when it comes to undercuts or overcuts. If these guys try to make undercuts work, using a lot of battery charge on that undercut lap, as you see Igor Araujo having to take across the curbs there through De La Rogia. Slightly struggling there. That's either a loss of concentration or proof that he's really pushing, having to push to keep up with these guys right now. Gelbevand and Fast battling, as they have done so many times this race. A little bit of contact, another little bit of contact as well. But Fast will hold on to the grip on 5th position for the time being. And Gelbevand just there in 6th. BYTR also very, very close behind these two drivers. Look at them, all within about 4/10 of a second of each other right there, throwing a blanket over them sort of territory. Actually, speaking of which, let's look up at the front again, because Narkovic is actually having a better run through Parabolica than he's done on several of the laps so far. This is a golden opportunity then for the Polish driver. Doesn't even need the battery power. He's going to take first position away from Top Jack, who does not even try and fight it. Look at Top Jack's battery percentage right now. He's used so much more of his ERS compared to the Aston Martin behind and ahead of him now. And that might lead to him struggling when it comes to the pit stop phase for these drivers. We're on to lap 10 and they still aren't showing signs of slowing down quite yet. Still gapping the rest of the medium tyre runners for the time being. Kevin, the front runner of those medium tyre runners, he's 5 seconds adrift of Igor Araujo right now. Fast, 3.5 seconds behind Kevin. So these guys are driving an immaculate first stint on these soft tyres, really setting a searing pace at the front of this race. And Rhombus, Dazed Rhombus picking up a 3-second time penalty. He is down in 15th and on track to be lapped as things are currently going right now. Narkovic not dropping Top Jack right now. Let's just check. Battery charge still pretty good for Narkovic. So, not a disaster for him if Top Jack is able to close up. Igor Araujo, he's had to use a lot of his battery in the last couple of laps because of that mistake he made through De La Roggia. Just to stay within DRS range, he's had to use his ERS to compensate. And as a result, he's in much less of a strong position than he was a couple of laps ago. The race leaders pit then. Narkovic and Top Jack into the pits. Igor Araujo continues on out there for an 11th lap on this set of soft tyres. Let's see, is the pit stop going to go well for these drivers? They're not going to hold each other up in the pit lane, as that will be Narkovic getting back out ahead then of Top Jack. And no one anywhere near them. Danico isn't going to come close to doing anything about these guys. He went on to hards a couple laps ago and he's been slow ever since. So Narkovic will retain the de facto race lead, and actually he was able to build a little bit of an extra gap there on Top Jack in the pit lane. Some slow pit work there from the Williams crew, from the Alpine crew I should say, as Top Jack now finds himself with a 2-second deficit to the Polish driver in the Aston Martin. Bryn Evans picks up a 3-second time penalty. He's currently running in 6th, but he's yet to pit off of his his soft tyres, I should say. And Igor Araujo's going slowly out there. Igor Araujo has allowed Kevin to close up to him in a major way. I wonder if it was another mistake on that lap then from Araujo in towards De La Roggia, where he saw him making a mistake earlier on. I think he might have had another issue, and that's allowed Kevin to close right up to him. And that is going to leave Top Jack breathing a sigh of relief. He doesn't have to worry about any overcut, I should say now, from Igor Araujo as a result of that mistake. Araujo will pit, making it only Bryn Evans out there on soft tyres that he started the race on, and Bryn is also going to head into the pit lane now. Let's see it then, the stop from the Aston Martin drivers, as Edouard picks up a 3-second time penalty. Down in 12th position at the moment. Narkovic goes past. Top Jack goes past. And there you can see the amount of time that Araujo lost on that in-lap. Huge. Big, big deficit. Almost 5 seconds. It is 5 seconds. Down to, up to Top Jack, I should say. And that is a minor disaster now for Araujo. Still potentially on track for a podium, but he's going to be vulnerable to the likes of Kevin, Gelbevand and Fass once those guys come into the pits on their contra strategy. Not quite halfway into this race right now. And here is the battle for what is currently second position. Gelbevand ahead of Fass for the time being, but these two have been constantly going at one another. Gelbevand with a much better ERS state right now. That's going to help him out in any ensuing battles with the Alfa Romeo behind. BYTR there in 4th position as well. Still just about clinging on to those guys, but not looking terribly lively in the battle. As there's yellows in Sector 2, that Spiz who's having a bit of a disastrous home race here for Ferrari. Down there in 14th. Not the way he would have been hoping for this race to go whatsoever. Oh, and that's a mistake there from BYTR. Great car control as he locked the rears. Braked too late and locked the rears in towards turn 1 there. Struggled to hold on to the car, but did a fantastic job of preventing it from spinning around. However, Guiza will be smelling blood in the water. He's not close enough, I don't think, to take advantage of that mistake from the German up ahead. But Guiza will have seen that and he'll have noted it, and he'll know that BYTR is under a little bit of pressure then right now. Kevin still leading the way on his medium tyres, with Gelbevand closing in on him right now and actually dropping Fass and BYTR. These guys falling away from the man in second place. And you can see Fass with a slightly odd line there through Ascari. There's a couple of drivers in the pit lane there. I think that's going to be Spears retiring in the pit lane. He's done with this race. Such a shame the way it went. Higgsy's also gone round. Let's take a look at Higgsy. And that is on the exit of De La Roja, where we've seen several drivers all in this sort of part of the track, either on the exit of De La Roja or through Lesmo 2. Drivers have been coming a cropper all race long. Fass is going to be the first driver to make a scheduled pit stop then, away from the medium tyres. Fascinating. Let's see where Fass and Guiza come out relative to the likes of Igor Araujo and Bryn Evans. JXN picks up a 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings, as it's now soft tyres again for both of these drivers. Just like they had in qualifying, they'll have it here in the race as well. Fass leading Guiza out of the pit lane. They're both behind Igor Araujo and they're both behind Bryn Evans, but they do have faster tyres all the way now to the end of this race to try and make Araujo and Evans pay for their mistakes earlier on. Guiza going to be still right up behind Fass for the time being. Gelbevand pushing really, really hard in that Red Bull right now, but making a mistake in the process, picking up that 3-second time penalty. And that's a shame for Gelbevand, who was closing in on Kevin. Has good pace at this phase of the race, using a bit more of the battery charge. Kevin has used more than Gelbevand, though. So Gelbevand... Oh, no! I cut away from Gelbevand at the worst possible moment. Gelbevand loses it on the exit of Ascari. So not only is that penalty that lap, oh, and he's going around again. This is a disaster. Needs to get those rear tyres cooled down before he can really pump the throttle there. And Gelbevand is pretty much down and out of this one now. Big, big shame for him. The race was really starting to come together for him before lap 14, where he picked up the penalty and then spun round on the exit of Ascari. Here's your race leader for the time being, Kevin. Third place in the driver's standings right now for AlphaTauri. And he has got a comfortable margin to BYTR, the next closest driver, still on the same set of tyres. Of course, Kevin will have to pit before this race is done. So he's not safe at the moment to Narkovic, Topjack and Igor Araujo. I believe if Kevin were to pit in this lap, he would be coming out between Bryn Evans and Igor Araujo. So, we'll see if he does make the decision to pit on this one or not, whether he'll stay out. Some of the pressure has definitely been alleviated off of his shoulders by the demise of Gelbevand in this race. Gelbevand was really closing in on him, putting him under a little bit of pressure, but now that pressure completely gone. As he heads around the final corner now, onto the pit straight and into the pit lane for Kevin. Very tentative pit entry, losing a couple of extra seconds there, you'd have to say, with that slow pit entry for Kevin. BYTR also following him into the pit lane. Let's see where Guiza and Fass are going to be relative to these guys. I think they should be coming out somewhere near BYTR. And they're very close together on circuit as well. Kevin then onto those fresh soft tyres. He's going to exit the pits back out in 4th place, just ahead there of Bryn Evans, but it's going to be very close between himself and the Alpine driver. Can he brake late enough? Oh, he brakes maybe too late even. This is going to give Bryn a great opportunity on the exit, but there's no traction on the left-hand side of the circuit on the exit of turn 1. It's such a slippery place to try and put the power down, and Bryn Evans has found that out to his cost. Really struggled to get as good an exit as Kevin. And Kevin, with those fresh soft tyres, should start to drive away now from the Alpine driver. BYTR, meanwhile, came out well behind both Fass and Guiza, who are closing in on Bryn Evans at this stage of the race. Back out at the front, though, Top Jack, he's closed in on Narkovic. Top Jack's used a lot of his battery power, though, in doing so. So he could be very, very much out of steam when it comes to potentially making a move, and he's... Oh, wow! And I don't know if he just paused the game when he had that incident there, Top Jack. Car did ghost there on the exit of Ascari. I won't call that one either way. Either way, though, and that was a big moment, Code Brown moment for the man in second at the moment. And he is going to be very happy that he was able to deal with that. Narkovic will have seen that, of course, in the rearview mirror. He'll have seen Top Jack struggling through the exit of Ascari. And that will give him a little bit of extra hope with the way this race is currently going. Bryn Evans very close behind Kevin, actually sending the move on Kevin. Very deep into the braking zone there, Bryn Evans. And Kevin cuts across the curbing as a result. He'll feel like he was pushed off there by the Alpine. We didn't really get to see it from Kevin's perspective, so it's hard to truly say. But now, Kevin did not need this whatsoever. He will be faster than Bryn Evans on this new set of tyres, but he cannot find a way back past him. So Bryn Evans making what could be a big overtake, not for his race, but for the races of Kevin, Fass, and Guiza. Because Kevin really wants to have dropped these guys right now, but he cannot do so because he's bottled up behind Bryn Evans in that Alpine. Bryn makes the mistake then through Lesmo 2, and that's going to allow another opportunity for Kevin to blast back past. On the run back up the hill to Ascari, he's there, back into fourth. So a minor annoyance for Kevin, but it's not over yet, because he's going to have to defend from Bryn Evans, win the next DRS zone as well. In towards turn 1, he could be in trouble. Let's take a look at Top Jack and Narkovic as well. Will Top Jack be using the battery? Not a bit of it. So just happy to sit here and farm ERS in the train behind Narkovic right now. Bryn Evans behind. He's not going to be close enough, and he has nothing left in terms of battery power to fight with. He's got enough to keep himself safe from Fass and Guiza, but not enough to have a go at Kevin, who should now be able to have a second attempt at driving away from this train of cars, and probably ought to be able to do so. Igor Araujo up ahead of them. He's in a bit of no man's land right now, but Kevin will see him as a viable target towards the end of this race. But Kevin, big mistake through De La Rogia. Bryn Evans had to get out of it entirely, and Fass as well. He's right there with these guys. You can see as they go through Lesmo 1, it's basically a traffic jam 2x2 through there. Even the House of Guiza's getting involved. But as it stands, Kevin just about holds on to the position despite making that big mistake on the entry to the De La Rogia chicane. It's not over for him, though. He's still under pressure on the run to Ascari. Bryn Evans doesn't make a move, despite being less than a tenth of a second behind Kevin in the braking zone there. He has patience and lets Kevin stay ahead of him. And to be honest, if you're Bryn Evans at this point, you're probably happy. The longer Kevin stays there with you, you get DRS. That's going to protect you from the soft tyre runners of Fass and Guiza just in behind. BYTR will also be very happy with the way this race is going at the moment, as it's clawing his way back into contention thanks to the mistake there of Bryn Evans and all the chaos that's going up ahead of them. Or of Kevin, I should say. Now they're going to be going 3 wide down the main straight here. It's Bryn on the left, Kevin on the right, and actually it's going to be Fass and Bryn, and now Bryn Evans somehow is doing fantastic work in this battle. He's on 6-lap-old mediums. These guys are on either 2 or 4-lap-old softs, and still Bryn Evans is making them really work for it. It seems like he doesn't even have a tyre differential against him right now as they go side by side again through De La Rogia, and once again Bryn Evans does a fantastic job, maybe pushing Fass a little bit wide on the exit. He had to run through the gravel and he loses out then to both Guiza and Kevin. Kevin makes it past Bryn Evans in the process. I don't know exactly how he managed to do that. Bryn must have had a really rough run on the exit of De La Rogia. But this battling is frenetic between these drivers over 4th, 5th, 6th and 7th positions, and make that 8th as well, because BYTR is now right here with these guys. Back up at the front, Narkovic is still leading from Top Jack, but this is where everything is going down in this race right now. And this is fantastic news as well for Igor Araujo. He'd have been under so much pressure from Kevin, Guiza and Fass if it wasn't for the fact that Bryn Evans had been holding them up such a treat for the Aston Martin driver. And Bryn, this whole time, he's had nothing to speak of in terms of battery power either. How he's managing to be such a nuisance to these soft tyre runners, I will never know. But he's doing a fantastic job in that Alpine right now. Even closed in on Kevin towards the end of that straight there with the DRS. Kevin will still be at the head of the train. And this time, he needs to make sure he doesn't make a mess of it into the upcoming De La Roja chicane. It's right on board with him. See if he can nail it through here. Maybe a bit tentative. He didn't take the apex of the second part of the chicane. But I don't think that will have mattered. As long as he makes it through there without a big mistake, that's all he's going to worry about. Fass and BYTR are side by side. BYTR taking the position away then from Fass, who retires. He's retired on the outside of the corner. It didn't seem like there was huge contact between the two of them, but he is out of the race. And now, let's see. Is he there on the side of the road? You can't quite see him from that shot, but we have a full safety car now on lap 20 of 27, and this is going to bunch the field right up with one another. Are the front runners going to pit? Are they going to stay out there on their mediums? We'll have to wait and find out. They're coming towards the pit lane now, and Narkovic will pit. Top Jack follows him in. Both of them going to go for the pit stop. Will Igor Araujo also make the same decision? He's going to as well. Seems like every driver will want to go into the pit lane. Kevin stays out. Kevin's going to do the opposite here. He feels his soft tyres are fresh enough that he doesn't need to go and strap on a new set of boots. Pretty much every other driver is heading into the pit lane though. This could have been a major mistake for Kevin. We'll see how it plays out, but this doesn't look great for him with almost everyone else, in fact everyone else, going for a fresh set of softs right now. And wow, that calls to an end all that fantastic action we were seeing. But I'm sure we're going to have a few more in the sprint to the finish here with the safety car situation. It also brings Edwards, Higgsy, and JXN and Danico, the likes of them, sorry, all back into contention right now. And there you can see the safety car. 3 drivers are lining up behind. That's Kevin. Ahead now of Narkovic and Top Jack. The 2 drivers who have been battling it out for the race lead all race long. Ever since the demise of Dazed Rhombus and Cordon N'Golo, it's been between Narkovic and Top Jack. Igor Araujo has not really had the pace to live with those guys. He's been too mistake happy in this race so far. He gets another shot at it now as well though, as you can see him closing up to the safety car snake in the background. And this will be very, very interesting. This is, of course, very bad news as well for every single driver who has a penalty to their name right now. So Bryn Evans, Gail Bavand, JXN, Edwards, and Higgsy all going to be struggling just a little bit towards the end of this race because they cannot build the necessary time gaps they need to make sure that they don't lose positions at the checkered flag. And there you can see the penalties in all their glory. Bryn Evans with 3, Gail Bavand with 3, JXN sitting on 6, Edwards on 9, the most of anyone in this race, and Higgsy also there sitting on 3. And now let's take another look at how this race has gone for everyone. You can see Kevin up 12 positions. Fantastic start, well not start to the race, fantastic race so far from Kevin. On the contra strategy, really making it work. It seemed like that last stint wasn't necessarily going his way. The safety car coming out might have helped him. It also might have hindered him, as he's the only driver who's not going to be on perfectly fresh softs at this safety car restart. Other big gainers in this race, Guiza up 7 positions, BYTR up 8. 2 more drivers who also started on those medium tyres. Other than that, no great gainers here. Bryn Evans up 4, of course. He started in P10. So he could have been a bit higher than he was actually as well. At one point he was running 4th in that first stint of the race. But he lost out in some way. Fell right back down to the back end of that order. Be interesting to see Danico as well. He was one of the faster drivers in qualifying, even though we only got the 1 lap at it. So maybe the Mercedes stand-in here today, or the Mercedes driver I should say, maybe he can look to put on a bit of a charge once we get towards the end of this one. One more lap of the safety car then, as they will circulate around once more at this slow speed, doing everything they can, of course, to keep the warmth in their tyres. When it comes to the drivers' standings at the moment, Narkovic not even inside the top 10. This could be a very, very big result for him. Same story for Araujo, as he is yet to score any points, I believe. I believe that this is his first race of the season. Top Jack, as I mentioned earlier, currently our championship leader. Kevin, currently third place in the championship standings. This would be nice for him. It wouldn't overhaul the gap between himself and Top Jack, but it would get him a little bit closer to the man out in the very front of the order. Bryn Evans there in 6th. In terms of the driver standings, he is currently running in 5th, so it wouldn't be a fantastic race for his purposes. Danny Coe himself, he's in 8th in the driver's standings right now, with 16 points to his name. And of course, he actually was our winner last time out in Zandvoort. Let's not forget that as well. Top Jack, Savage, who's not racing here today, and Danny Coe are the 3 race winners so far this season. Top Jack has 2 race wins to his name. Kevin and Narkovic, neither of them have any wins to their name thus far. Kevin's best result is a single 3rd place finish in Zandvoort last time out, as the safety car will be coming in this lap. Guiza there in 5th, his best finish of the season so far, a 5th place finish. So hopefully for him, he'll be able to get another position and go one better. Either way, he's on track to at least match his best result of the season so far. And now we can see who's it going to be on this safety car restart. Kevin there on slightly older tyres compared to everybody else. That could be his undoing, but will it be his undoing? 6 laps on his soft tyres, 1 lap on the softs of everyone else. And Kevin floors it then, very early through Parabolica, and he seems to have caught Narkovic napping here just a little bit. And that's Kevin with a fantastic restart. Let's see Top Jack now on board with him. Is he going to have a go then at the Polish driver up ahead? He's using a lot of his battery power. He's trying to do it here. And Igor Araujo behind. He's going to be under pressure as well from Guiza. Guiza right up there with him. Doesn't make contact with the driver up ahead, but came very, very close to doing so. Let's jump on board with Top Jack again, because he is now challenging Narkovic for the 2nd time on this lap already. Narkovic forced to go defensive. Not much space on the outside, and they make contact twice there. That will not make Top Jack happy whatsoever. They make contact again on the exit of De La Roja. Top Jack had to skip over the chicane, and Narkovic maybe didn't leave him enough space on the outside there in the braking zone. Hard to say from that angle. Either way, Top Jack tried to put his car there, and he found that he could not do so. In terms of the restart, doesn't look like there's been any major movers or shakers. Most of the drivers in the same order as they were beforehand. BYTR picks up a 3-second time penalty. He's there in 7th right now. He's actually in a very close contention with Gelbevand here. Gelbevand in 8th. Both of these guys with 3 seconds of penalties to their name. And there's Danny as well, thinking about the inside, braking so much later, almost into the rear wing of Gelbevand. That definitely caught Danny off guard. He was able to avoid a collision though, and that's what matters. Here comes Igor Araujo. He's going for Top Jack. Top Jack under pressure. He used everything he had at the beginning of the lap, and now he has nothing left to fight back with against the Brazilian. It's side by side through the first chicane. And they're going to make a little bit of contact there. In behind them is Guiza as well. He's going to have box seats to this particular battle. And there you see Top Jack and Igor Araujo. Igor looks for the inside line. He's going to force Top Jack to give him that inside line. He brakes later then than the Alpine driver, but he goes too deep. The switchback could be there for Top Jack, but he gets a swerve on in the traction zone. And that's going to give 3rd position to Igor Araujo. Top Jack thought he was going to take 2nd. Instead, he's giving up his grip on 3rd and maybe giving up his grip on 4th. He's under pressure. The momentum is running against him right now. Here is Guiza right up behind him, and Bryn Evans right there as well. These guys behind him. Oh, no contact! And he sends Top Jack off. That's no front wing left for Guiza. Top Jack just about manages to keep going without going into the gravel there. Simulation damage is on here. So he might well have some damage to the rear end of that car. Bryn Evans finds his way past, but he has a 3-second time penalty to contend with. Back out at the front, Kevin leads Narkovic across the line as we enter lap 26 of 27. DRS enabled once again. There's going to be one last chance at the end of this race, really, for Narkovic to try and have a go. Top Jack is losing out now to BYTR and to Gelbevand. Look at this. Top Jack is tumbling down the order. It's a terrible safety car restart for him, and it's got worse. Gelbevand spins it out into the first chicane, and Danico and Higgsy, they're right there. There's so much chaos on this safety car restart. Look what a late safety car will do for a race. And look, they're still side by side. Not the best camera shot there, and Higgsy makes the move now on Top Jack. All of these guys in and around Top Jack, they all have penalties to their name. So that is the solace point right now for Top Jack. But at the rate he's falling back, he's going to fall well with outside of 3 seconds to Bryn Evans and maybe BYTR as well. Danico's going to be putting him under pressure. So is JXN. Meanwhile, back up the front, there's Narkovic taking the race lead away from Kevin. Kevin's soft tyres, they're starting to cry enough. 9 laps into their lifespan, and Narkovic makes the move on him. Has he done it too early, though? There's going to be an opportunity for Kevin down towards turn 1 into the next braking zone. Kevin has enough battery to fight with. He doesn't have as much as Narkovic, but he might still be able to make a move back on the Polish driver. On to the final lap we go then. It's Narkovic leading Kevin as we head onto the straight. There we see it. Let's jump on board then with the AlphaTauri. Look at the closing speed right now. Reeling him in is Kevin. He sends it to the outside of turn 1. He brakes so late, but Narkovic, fantastic defensive driving from him. Kevin had to back out of that. Narkovic left him no opportunity further behind. Bryn Evans, he's been able to dispatch Igor Araujo. Up into 3rd place he goes now. He has that penalty, but still fantastic driving from him. Top Jack, meanwhile, he's down into 8th. JXN is right there with him, making it 9th now. For our championship leader, I have to imagine he has damage to the rear end of that car after Guiza collided with it on the braking zone into Ascari. Back up at the front, though, Narkovic seems to have got this race bought and paid for. Only about 4 corners left to go for him, and Kevin just isn't close enough. No more DRS zones now. And Bryn Evans might even be putting Kevin under pressure rather than Kevin putting Narkovic under pressure here. Those 10-lap-old soft tyres really struggling towards the end of this race. Bryn Evans using every last drop of that battery power to try and get ahead of Kevin. He will not be able to do so, though, into Parabolica. He brakes later into Parabolica, makes a tiny bit of contact with the rear wing of Kevin. Meanwhile, Narkovic, he's going to cross the line and claim victory, his first of the season here in Monza. Kevin comes across the line second. Igor Araujo, chaotic finish for him. He will move ahead of Bryn Evans on penalties. Bryn, though, claims 4th despite his penalties. Fantastic race in the latter stages from him. BYTR quietly makes his way up into 5th place. Top Jack, he has to make do with 6th. Danico and Higgsy, the 2 Mercedes drivers, 7th and 8th. JXN 9th in the Williams. And then you have Gelbevand in 10th. He lost it at the beginning of the final lap, and he'll be gutted with that. Crosses the line with no front wing left on that Red Bull. He will claim 1 point for his troubles. Guiza, the only driver who's going to cross the line without managing to score a single point. Now you see driver of the day, Kevin. And I think I can probably agree with that one. A fair few very impressive drives here. But in the race itself, Kevin was very in control. He didn't quite have the tyres to make the win his. But the decision to stay out on those aged soft tyres did work out for him in the end. He gained a 2nd position as a result. But there's Narkovic, the Polish driver, at the top of the podium there, with Brazilians alongside in both cases. So there you see it, the overall order. It's Narkovic first, Kevin 2nd, Igor Araujo rounds off the podium. Bryn Evans 4th, BYTR 5th, Top Jack 6th, disappointment for him. Danico 7th, Higgsy 8th, JXN 9th, Gelbevand 10th, Guiza 11th, and then you have the non-finishers. That's Edwards, Fass, Spiz, and then we'll see the final couple of non-finishers. Days Drombus and Cordoningolo. They could have been in a conversation for a race win here today. As it was, they took each other out through Lesmo 2. And with that, this will bring to an end this broadcast of PSGL's PCF4 tier, round 5, the Italian Grand Prix. Thank you very, very much for watching. I hope the stream went okay, and thank you for bearing with me with the various troubles I had with that, and with my solo commentary as well. It's been a pleasure to bring this to you, and I will now wish you guys a good evening.